Hi there, Anne Murray here with Personal Financial Strategies, and today I'm talking to Fred Forman, who's my good friend, and he's also an expert in the estate planning arena.
Oh, thank you, Anne.
Yeah. And we wanted to talk about kind of the basics of estate planning because I think we always get questions from clients. I think my estate planning's all done or I'm all set. So Fred, what is estate planning?
It's actually a great question, Anne, because a lot of people get referred to me and they are told to get an estate plan done, and they say, I don't know what an estate plan is, Fred. Well, a good estate plan has a lot of moving parts, and they don't apply to everyone, but something I'm going to say will apply to everyone who's watching.
Yeah.
Number one, if you have children who might be under the age of 18 or disabled adult children, make sure we have guardianships in place so we know who's going to raise them and care for them when you're gone or disabled.
And I think that's probably the reason a lot of people walk that path is because they want to make sure their kids are taken care of.
Yeah, I even see that years later. They say, well, we did our will 20 years ago. We were taking a trip and we wanted to make sure there was going to be a guardian for our kids if the plane went down. That's the one we hear all the time.
Yeah.
But it's even more than that. It's also making sure that while you're alive, people think of estate planning as death, but it's also life as well. We don't all go right from life to death. Sometimes we become disabled before we die. So it's making sure we have medical, life support, and financial decisions covered if you're disabled. Mm-hmm. We talk about passing assets at death, whether it might be a will or maybe a trust to avoid probate and all of the hassles and costs and delays of that. Mm-hmm. Spelling out who gets your things when you pass on. Protecting inheritances. It may also be estate taxes if your client has a large enough estate. Mm-hmm. It may be they're concerned about protecting assets against long-term care costs. It's actually cheaper right now, Anne, to book a cruise for 365 nights a year on certain cruise ships than it is to stay 1 year in a nursing home.
Right.
This was amazing.
Who wants to do that?
I would take the cruise ship any day of the week. And they take care of you, they feed you. It's a good thing. Yeah. And it's also, if you have a family business, making sure that business has a way of going on to the next generation, either through good tax planning or good management planning. Mm-hmm. It's also making sure that you're protecting yourself while you're alive. What good is all the hard work that our clients do in building an estate, your hard work as a financial planner in growing their estate, and mine in helping them pass it on if they get wiped out in a lawsuit before they ever get as far as death?
Right.
So it has a lot of moving parts, and we look at all those things with our clients.
Awesome. One of the questions I think that people come up with is say, well, I've done a will.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Yeah, well, it can be for some people. I find that if people have real estate, if they have children who are under a certain age, if they have a diverse set of assets, certainly if they're business owners, a will is not always sufficient. A will is just a way of telling a probate court who you want your stuff to go to and under what conditions or at what age. But a will doesn't physically transition everything to the next generation. Because when you die with a will, certain assets have to get tied up through probate.
What exactly is probate, and who is subject to probate?
If you have an asset that's just in your name that you don't own jointly with somebody else, or doesn't have a beneficiary, a good example might be a stock account that's just in my name, or my wife has passed, or I'm not married and I have a house, or I have a business, those things would have to go through probate. Probate's a legal process that takes the assets of somebody that died, me, and through a judge in a court changes it over to somebody that's living.
It sounds like that could be very expensive as well.
Yeah, and again, that's why people always say don't do a will if you have assets, because you're paying the lawyer twice. Once when they do the documents for you, and again when you pass away, your estate's paying to have it probated. I don't want any of you paying twice. You pay once. Don't pay the lawyer twice.
One of the things that you mentioned was something about a trust. Yes. As opposed to having a will, you always probably want to have a will, but a trust could also be a good vehicle for a lot of people. Yes. One of the comments I think we get frequently is that, oh, I don't have enough assets to have a trust. Yeah. But it's not about the assets.
It's about the circumstances.
Okay, so talk to me about that.
Sure. So I might have a young couple that comes in and says to me, we own our house, we have maybe 50 or 100,000 of equity because we borrowed a lot of money on it. Mm-hmm. We each started our 401ks not too long ago, and not a whole lot else. I ask about things like, do you have life insurance? Well, we each have $500,000 of cheap term life insurance. Mm-hmm. That's $1 million estate. Mm-hmm. You have a 2 and a 3-year-old. Who's your beneficiary of your life insurance? Each other and then our 2 and our 3-year-old. How do you leave $1 million of life insurance to a 2 and a 3-year-old? So a trust is just a legal document called a trust where you say who's going to get your stuff. While you're alive, you're the one who makes the trust, known as the grantor or settlor or trustor, depending on which type of phrasing you use. You're the manager, known as the trustee, and you're the only beneficiary. So while you're alive, nothing has changed. You can buy things, sell things, give things away. You don't do your taxes any differently. You don't change your ATM card. It doesn't have to appear on your checks. You set it up, do a little homework with a good financial advisor, and that's why I love working with you, because I know you get the trust funded for the clients, which is a big mistake.
It's a process.
It's a process. Yeah. But once that process is done, You know there'll be no probate. You know that the money will be managed for those children or whoever you're leaving your assets to, and there'll be no probate. So a trust is a good way of avoiding probate. And people say, well, how does a trust avoid probate? Well, again, I said earlier, probate's a legal process that took the assets of somebody that died, me, and through a judge in a court, changed them over to somebody that's living, my kids, or a guardian for them. But if I've already changed my stuff over into a trust while I'm living and then I die, it's still in a trust. Because a trust doesn't die. It's not a person, it's a thing. If the president of a major corporation dies, they generally don't close the corporation. They put a new president, they keep going.
Right.
You have a trust holding all of your things, you're in charge. You die, we have a new trustee, and that might be my brother, my sister, my cousin, or a professional trustee.
Right. Okay.
Pretty cool.